Nothing is static in life. The earth is in orbit, revolving around the sun in a continuous circle. As the water drops down on earth as rain, it evaporates back to the sky in continuous movement. Nothing is in a permanent state here on earth. We have times and seasons, summer, fall, spring, and winter. Each has its own light, temperature, and weather patterns that is repeated yearly. Has your life been stagnant with just your age increasing? Has nothing positive or tangible taken place in your life? Have you been the same for a very long time? Even seeds planted in the ground do not remain there. It grows and bears fruit, and as such, it is a disorder for your life to be stagnant without results to show. It is an abomination to God, it is a perversion of status, and it ends today. You have remained on that spot for so long, and God is saying today that your time for the shift is now. Your time for change is now. Your prayers, sacrifices, and kingdom services have arisen to God as pleasing sacrifice, and angels have been deployed to ensure a positive shift in your life. It is not only a shift, it is beckoned with restoration to take you to the place you were meant to be. It is your promotion season. Speed has been placed on your destiny. Nothing would stop this shift. Rejoice, for the time is now. We serve a God who loves to break the rules for his children. It would seem like a certain pattern, path, or series of steps need to be followed to see the change you believe God has preordained for you. But it is not going to happen the way you think. Several characters and personalities exist who, via a shift from God, their lives were transformed. The account in John 5 comes to mind. The story of the man that has been at the pool for over 30 years. The angel of the Lord comes down at a certain time to stir the water, and the first person to jump in gets healed. Here was this man with nobody to put him in the water when it was stirred. But his story and life changed when he had an encounter with the Almighty One, who can turn and make things shift at any moment. He did not know who Jesus was and was making plenty stories of how he has been there with no assistance. Suddenly, Jesus told him to get up, pick his mat, and leave, and immediately he was on his way. You are about to experience such kind of shift that would defy science and what anyone has seen before. Such was also the case of the first king of Israel. He was from the least tribes of Israel, and none would have ever thought something unique would come from that tribe. But when he had an encounter with the prophet and priest Samuel, from his journey of looking for the lost ass of his father, he was anointed king of Israel. The little meeting caused a permanent shift in his life for good. What is that you may have been written off to get? Admission to medical or law school, or good fountains in life? I speak to you today that all hope is not lost. You are on a ride for an encounter that would shift you permanently in life and make you a wonder and testimony to many. And those who mocked and looked down on you, it would happen in no distant time. See, life just has to happen for you to truly understand its pains, victories, and complexities, and that is why experience will always be king. Genesis 37 captures the account of a young boy of 17 and how his life shifted drastically by God. Born as the 11th out of 12 children, he was not of importance in any standard, neither was his voice heard. But, fortunately for him, he had a dream and held on to his dream. His dream seemed practically impossible. How can someone who is near to the last child become king and the elderly child would have to bow to him. They made a mockery of him and his dream, and with time, they even conspired and sold this boy to slavery to end his dream. Unknown to them, they were pushing him closer to that shift that would make the dream become a reality. Joseph did not find it easy there. The devil still wanted to avert that shift. But he remained focused, and from prison, his life experienced a sudden shift and change of narrative. And he was crowned prime minister in a nation he came in as a slave. Such was also the case and story of King David. From being a shepherd boy, he experienced a shift and a change of story and found his route directed to the place. Finding himself on the battleground to take a message to his brothers who were fighting a war, unknown to him, it was his designated time for a shift and a change of story. He returned home to his father as the slayer of Goliath, someone that left home as a guider of his father's flock. This is also similar to the story of Moses, found himself tending his father-in-law's flock, Jethro, moving around the mountains, and found himself at the Mount of God, and there was drawn close to the burning bush that was having no impact on the trees and leaves. That was the event that changed and caused a shift in his life, and he became a guard to Pharaoh and also delivered the people of God to the promised land. You are in that season, and you would see the mighty hand of hand. Your path would be guided to the place that would mark your shift and lifting in life, and you would not miss your chance. It's your time for a shift. It is your time for uplifting. You would not miss out or fail at the edge of your breakthrough. Observe that there was something consistent with the account and stories we just talked about from the Bible. They were men of little and humble background, faithful men, men with integrity, gifted, strong belief and determination. Joseph was humble to the core, never took personal what his brother said about him. When he found himself in the house of Potiphar, he worked his way to the top, never relenting, and remained faithful, even when the wife of his master wanted to sleep with him. He refused to do what was evil to God and man, and instead decided to run his way to prison. He was able to interpret dreams with the help of God, and that was useful in setting up his meeting with the king. His belief in God was never affected. He never stood to question why misfortunes and disaster were around him. He believed God for his shifting time, and sure, it came, and he entered his rest. Imagine a single soul saving a whole generation and nation from famine and disaster. Are you expecting a shift from God? Have you maintained a faithful lifestyle? Have you been found humble all along? Has your belief in God remained unshaken? These are factors to your making and shift. David was a humble boy, committed and dedicated to taking care of his father's flock. He knew the King of God they served in Israel, and he was able to stand up and defend his country and God. He was faithful in the task assigned to him by all, and his ruggedness in the face of battle and adversity made him stand to face a giant that even the king feared and no one dared to face. God saw his humility, faithfulness, strong belief, and resilience, and this necessitated his shift from a shepherd of flocks to the shepherd of the children of God. God is not a respecter of persons. He searches down to the thoughts of man, sees his plans and agenda. How consistent have you been in your work with God? Can men say you are faithful and humble in all situations and circumstances? Do you know the God you are serving and trusting well enough? Can you stand and defend His glory when others are mocking Him? Search yourself and see clearly if you have a track record like the cases we saw earlier. Search yourself and see if what those men possessed can be said about you. Those are factors to your shift. They are building blocks to your shift. They are leaders and pillars of God and would see and facilitate your all-round shift. You must not lose hope in God. It is not time to stop praying. Rather, it is time to pray and engage more. It is not time to stop helping or encouraging others. You need to be consistent in your good works. You must remain at your watch, praying to Him. Helping others and your good works will make men mention your name like Joseph. It would not be delayed again. The time for your shift and lift is now. What God has planned for you, the eye has not seen, either have men heard. Your case is different, your story is unique, and the time for the change of story and shift is now, not tomorrow. Welcome to your shift season.